Okay, so the Super Bowl is this weekend. It is this Sunday. NFL honors where how do they say? Like, we're honoring the best of the NFL, or however the fuck. That is this Saturday. So I wanted to go ahead and get in my predictions as to who I think is going to win all those awards, and then ultimately who I think is going to win the Super Bowl. The awards that I saw listed with all the finalists for were MVP, Offensive and Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive and Defensive Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year, Assistant of the Year, and Comeback Player of the Year. I know there's other awards like the Walter Payton Man of the Year. I think there's a Celebration of the Year and like a Moment of the Year, but I could not find the nominations for that. So these are only the ones that I've specifically seen the list of the nominees. So, going down the list, MVP, I think they're going to give it to Mahomes. Me, personally, it's really close between Mahomes and Hurts. Allen had too many turnovers. Burrow, I don't think his team was quite... It's weird to say his team was not dominant enough, given they won like 10 games in a row or some shit. But unless the team or the player is so fundamentally dominant, I really don't think you're going to give it to someone in the 3 seed, personally. And I mean, granted, with the Damar Hamlin situation, maybe they could have ended up as the 2. Because of how Kansas City won their last couple of games, they weren't going to end up as the 1. But I don't think it's going to be Burrow. And kind of the same with Justin Jefferson. The fact that he is nominated for MVP as a wide receiver is impeccable. Good job to him. But yeah, it's like, again, that's the 3 seed. If he was like breaking every record, like if he set like broke the touchdown record for like most in a season, broke the receiving yards record by Calvin Johnson, like the catch record, if he like did all that kind of crazy shit, sure, maybe, but I don't think so. I could see maybe getting like a vote or so, but I don't think it's going to go to him. Mahomes and Hurts, both 14-3, both the 1 seeds in their conference. Both feel like important cogs in the machines of their team. Kansas City is not Kansas City without Patrick Mahomes. Look no further than a few years ago when Alex Smith was the QB. A lot of the same coach, a lot of the same offensive players. I mean, quite a few of them are different now, but like Kelsey was there. Tyreek isn't there now, but like Tyreek was there before Mahomes. And they were good, but they weren't as dominant. They weren't as explosive. Mahomes goes in his first year, throws 50 touchdowns. They're the 1 seed and they host the AFC Championship. And they have not stopped hosting the AFC Championship since. He's kind of an absolute monster. And you always see the value that he brings to the team with just the crazy shit he can do. But he can also play well on script as well. With Jalen Hurts, his value was perfectly shown when he was out. He was out 2 games, and I'm not someone who's like, you missed 2 games, you can't be MVP. It's like, no, that's only 2 fucking games. If you can tell that this is the most valuable guy in the league, then he should still be the most valuable guy in the league. I still think Carson Wentz should have won the year that the Eagles won the Super Bowl. He missed like 2, maybe 3 games at the end of the year, but he got his team to the 1 seed. Like, he played incredibly well in that game he got injured, which was a crucial game to win. I really don't think it should have been Brady that year. Like, it was Wentz, and then he got injured, and then it was Gurley, and he got injured, then AB, and then AB got injured. Brady kind of won by default, and he's won, like, plenty of MVPs legitimately. That I don't want to just be, like, shitting on Brady and his legacy, but that one, to me, kind of has an asterisk to it. I won't lie. But with Jalen Hurts, the Eagles have lost 3 games all year. 2 of those losses were when he didn't play. In one of them, the offense actually went really well. I think Minshew still tossed 2 interceptions, but I didn't watch the game. From what I understand, he threw them to his guy, and then his guy just kind of got out-muscled by a defender. So, like, it wasn't super Minshew's fault. And then there was the game against the Saints where Minshew played like shit. It is what it is. It was weird. I mean, go Saints. I'm not wearing my Saints shirt. I'm wearing my Thunder shirt right now. Probably should have put on my football shirt when talking about the NFL, but whoops. You can easily see the value he brings to his team there. I think the media is going to give it to Mahomes more than Hurts, like to see him get that second one. And I don't think it's undeserved. But for me personally, it's kind of a coin flip, if I'm being perfectly honest. Next, Offensive Player of the Year. Justin Jefferson is a wide receiver nominated for MVP. He's winning Offensive Player of the Year. I know Mahomes threw for like 5,000 yards. I don't know how many touchdowns, but it's a fuck ton. Hurts had a crazy offensive season. Like, the Eagles set the record for rushing touchdowns in a season. It's either I think they did officially set the record, and they'll probably add to it in the Super Bowl. Like, let's be real. But a non-quarterback is nominated for MVP. He's gonna get the fucking award, let's be honest. Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going with Bosa. Like him, Parsons, and Jones are all defensive linemen, and Bosa has the most sacks. The forced fumbles are all pretty comparable between the two of them. I think they're all at about 2 or 3. I think Jones had the most total tackles. I could be wrong about that. But even the total tackles, I think, are all pretty close. The forced fumbles are all pretty close. Even the sacks are pretty close. But if it's 3 D linemen, I'm going to go with the guy who had the most sacks, unless, the other guy had, 50 more tackles or something. Comeback Player of the Year, to me, it's Geno. It's 100% Geno Smith. Not only is there that nice story of a guy who has been, he was supposed to be a franchise savior to the Jets, and it just didn't work out, and he's been kind of cast off here, except into Seattle after the Russell Wilson trade. No one thought they were going to be that good. No one thought he was going to be that good. And he ends up not only taking them to the playoffs, but setting these franchise's single season passing yards record. Granted, he had an extra game that I don't know if Wilson ever had. I mean, I know he was there last year with the Seahawks, but I think he was injured and didn't play the full season. If I'm remembering correctly, so I think Geno actually got quite a few snaps last year. But regardless, he sets the record. So not only does he have this nice story, he's got a great slogan. They wrote me off, I didn't write back. I remembered that since week 1. I love that shit, and I just loved watching him continue to play well. CMC and Saquon had great seasons coming off injuries. I'm glad to see those guys do well, but to me, this is Geno's award to lose. Next is Coach of the Year. For me, I'm going to predict Brian Daboll is going to win. Yes, what Shanahan was able to do with 3 different starting quarterbacks throughout the year is incredibly impressive. Look at my Saints last year. Lost a starting quarterback and the season was basically done. A lot of teams, when you lose your starter, you're kind of fucked. The 49ers were in a really good situation where their backup in Jimmy G was essentially the starter. He is a starting caliber player. He was their starter from last year. They were just letting the new guy go in and take some reps. We want to roll with him. Oh shit, he got injured. Well, we have a very strong insurance plan. The fact that Purdy was able to step in as a rookie, as Mr. Irrelevant, and do what he did, very, very impressive. They also have a phenomenal roster on, all their skill players, their defense, and a reliable kicker. Yes, it is impressive. Good job to Shanahan. But the rest of the team, I feel really helped because they're that fucking good. Looking at the Giants and the Jaguars, 2 teams that were not very good last year. I think the Giants, they had 2 first-round picks. But I think they picked in the top 10 twice. The Jags were the number 1 overall pick for the 2nd straight year. And both teams got turned around. I think what Doug Peterson is able to do is a little more impressive, given the fact that, they had the number 1 pick 2 years in a row, and made it to the divisional round. Holy crap, that is impressive. But the Giants don't have a very good roster. I mean, maybe they really do, and I just didn't realize it, but this is a roster that just does not on paper look as talented as a lot of the others, and they were still able to make the wild card and still also, like the Jags, make the divisional round. They won more games than the Jags, if I remember correctly. So I think the Giants won either 10 or 11? Did they? Okay, so they lost to Philly twice, Dallas twice, tied to Washington, so that's 4 losses and a tie, and they lost to Seattle and the Lions. So that should be 10-6-1. I think was their record. I could be wrong about that, but I believe that's so. So he did win more games. To me, what it really comes down to is New York is the bigger market, so it gets the bigger media focus. So I think Dable wins the award. I don't think it is undeserved. To me, it's kind of like the Mahomes hurt situation. Between him and Peterson, I think either of them could win the award, and it is perfectly fair. After that, the assistant coach of the year, it's DeMeco Ryans. His units, the 49ers defense, aside from the shit show against the Eagles, was this phenomenal unit that was just kicking ass. I think they were the number one defense all year, or like pretty much all year. He ended up getting a head coaching position. He could have, I think he almost was the Broncos. He's like, no, I don't want it. I want to go coach for Houston. So he kind of had his pick of the litter because he was so good. Like, yeah, I think it's him, kind of no question. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I think it's Brock Purdy, just because of that story. Mr. Irrelevant. Rookie, Mr. Irrelevant. Ends up being undefeated in the regular season. It's not like, he played 1 to 2 meaningless games. It was 6 games, 7 games, something like that. And yes, a lot of that is this roster is so good. What's a quarterback's best friend? A good running game. Sure-handed receivers who can break tackles and go for long yards. Good defenses that make it so you don't have to do as much. He has all those best friends. He also played well. You could argue the 49er offense looked better under him than it did under Garoppolo. I feel like it definitely did than it did under Lance, but Lance also, his first game was this shitty conditioned game in Soldier Field, so that one almost doesn't count. We didn't get a good sample size out of him. We still haven't. But I feel like that story of what Purdy was able to do is probably what's going to get him the award. And then Defensive Player of the Year, Sauce Gardner as a first-team All-Pro as a rookie. He's getting to Defensive Rookie of the Year. That's not even a question. So looking ahead to the Super Bowl, what fucking number are we on? Is this 56? 57? I'm not sure. But Eagles and the Chiefs, the Andy Reid Bowl, the Kelsey Bowl, whatever bowl you want to call it. I am rooting for Kansas City. Let me make that clear. That is my bias. My dad is a Chiefs fan. He loves that team. He's always rooted for them. Even when he was like, the Chiefs suck, but they're still my team. That's still who I root for. So seeing them be good and on the verge of a dynasty, that's something that's really exciting for him. And I want that for him. I generally like Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. I want to see them do well and be successful and be able to make that dynasty. That being said, I am picking the Eagles. I have picked against this team a lot this season, and it kind of keeps biting me in the ass because they're just that fucking good, man. Kansas City is a damn good team. They're here for a reason, because they are actually that good. Philly has what? It's 4 or 5 guys on the defensive line that have 10 plus sacks each. That's insane. It's that's just shit. Not only are they good in that area, they have depth. Also, they have Quinn coming off the bench. They've got Ndamukong Suh, who's didn't play. I don't even know if I pronounced his first name right. But they have Suh, who didn't play a lot of the season, so he's still kind of fresh compared to a lot of other guys. And then in the secondary, I don't know much about their secondary aside from Big Play Slay, but they have Big Play Slay. And on top of that, they've got that running game. They have the most rushing touchdowns of any team ever, professional or college. That's fucking crazy. They have that phenomenal offensive line. They can control the line of scrimmage. They can control the clock. I feel like the Eagles are just gonna, it's they can throw too, with fucking A.J. Brown and Smith. They can make the big plays. But they are going to control the line of scrimmage. They're going to control the game. And I don't think Mahomes is going to have a whole lot of chances to make shit happen. I think he's going to play well. I think he's going to capitalize on the opportunities he has. But it's not like he's going to score every single time because that Eagles defense is nasty. Kansas City does have like a solid defense. Like, they can come up and make big plays. Like, they've got some studs on the D-line with Clark and Jones. I don't know about their secondary. Like, they were able to make good plays against the Bengals. They also didn't. Like, there were some where Jamar Chase, like, 35-yard catch. The other one where Burrow hit Chase in the head. That, to me, that was not a, whoa, the secondary played so well on that play. That was a Burrow just slightly missed him and Chase just kind of missed the ball. I just look at this and, like, the Eagles are so good and just so deep at positions that really fucking matter. I think they win. I think it's close. Like, it's at most like a 10 to 14 point game. I think Kansas City is able to, if I'm keeping it close, and they're going to make it a good fight. I don't think this is like, to me, this is not the kind of game that you leave going, man, this is a stain on Mahomes' legacy. Like, he's been to 3 Super Bowls. He's only got 1 ring. He's lost 2 of them. Man, maybe this guy's not as good as we think he is. I think this is a game where he goes out, he balls out, but the Eagles' defense is able to do enough. And the Eagles' offense, like, they're able to do enough to keep them from winning, like, tightening up in the red zone, like a clutch sack at, like, one point or another. I mean, I feel like there's going to be quite a few sacks with that Eagles defense. But I do think the Eagles win it. I really do. Yeah, I think that's really all I have to say. Like, so that's what I think, who are going to win the NFL honors. That's what I think is going to win the Super Bowl. As for Super Bowl MVP, I mean, I guess if I'm picking the Eagles to win, it usually goes to the quarterback, so I guess I'll say Jalen Hurts, but you know what? I'm going to say Hassan Reddick. I think Reddick gets a couple crucial sacks, possibly like forces or recovers a crucial fumble. It's not to say that I think Hurts is going to play like shit or anything, but I think the Eagles offense is going to do their job, but I think the Eagles defense is why they win the game, and so the MVP is going to be a defensive player, and I think it's going to be Hassan Reddick. That's my prediction. We'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm rooting for Kansas City to win. I'm hoping to be wrong, but I don't know if I will, because Philly, you'll have a damn fucking good team. And I've got no beef with you guys. I'm not like, I hope Philly loses because they suck. I've got my bias because I want to see my dad be happy with his Chiefs winning, but I got no bias or like no beef with the Eagles. If you guys want, I mean, hey, Jalen Hurts was a quarterback at Oklahoma, and I'm a Sooner fan. If he wins, fly Eagles fly, man. I got no beef with that. So I'm looking forward to the game. I hope it is a good, fun, competitive game. I hope we get a good M&M commercial. I guess that's it. I'll see you guys after the game.